if another busy mom was listening to this right now, juggling with work, feeling like there's no time left for herself, what would you want her to hear?
When it comes to food and nutrition, if you're planning for your family, it's called things on a plate. So don't stress about it. If you got things in your fridge, it can be, some leftover scrambled eggs, a piece of toast. It can be breakfast. You can put it all together, and that's going to be a meal. So try not to stress too much about having a well balanced, put together meal.
All right. Welcome to the first ever Self Made Athletes podcast. Today, I am joined with someone who's very special. Erica is our studio manager here at Orangetheory Elgin Mills. And not only is she a leader in the studio, she's also a super mom, a marathon runner, someone who's been taking huge steps towards leading her family by example. So, Erica, thank you so much for jumping on.
Thanks, Mason. Appreciate it.
So, um, we're gonna dive right into things. And I just gotta ask you, what was the moment where things just clicked and you said, "I'm gonna do something about where I'm at with my health and my fitness"? Was there something specific that pushed you to start planning ahead when it came to nutrition?
So it's been sort of a battle in our household probably for the last couple of years. Our family is really busy. I have two daughters in competitive sports, and we're constantly on the go and looking for food options. And sometimes there's choices, sometimes there's better choices and not great choices. And we really are spending a lot of money eating out a lot because it's convenient for our family. So I was kind of looking ahead and saying, okay, something's got to change. One, it's just financially feasible. Two, it's just not that great for our bodies as well. Again, I'm sort of training two mini athletes as well. Like they're on competing in their sport several times a week. And when I talk about my own food and nutrition, I want to also give them good fuel as well because they're not fueling their body properly for their sports that they're in. So I kind of go back and forth with different food programs, whether it's like a HelloFresh or a delivery box and this and that. I've tried different things. This week I was like, look, I really got to get organized. I got to set ourselves up for success. And I tried a different food place where I was going to be delivering most of my proteins. So that was something that I knew that if I had a bunch of proteins in the fridge and freezer that were already sort of like pre-seasoned, I was going to be able to at least make a family meal with that. So it took some of the guesswork out of it. I think a mom's hated question is what's for dinner tonight, and I was definitely getting sick of the what's for dinner tonight question, and I was like, we got to change this. Okay, I'm going to tell you what is for dinner and this is what we're having.
I love that. And because we brought family into into the picture, what does it look like on the day to day? How are your daughters or your husband getting involved in all of this?
So getting involved kind of starts with, I guess, making luncheons. I'm often at the studio bright and early, so my husband takes a bit of more of a lead on that. So I'm really lucky. Again, they always know they have to have like two fruits in their lunch. So getting them involved, again, what fruits are we going to pick out? So they kind of help us pack their lunch, and then we look at like what treats they're going to have as well. So they are involved in sort of packing their little mini lunch box. Again, we kind of have some criteria where we guide them like a main and something colorful, and then having the two fruits involved. And then it kind of starts from there, making sure we have some sort of a healthy breakfast. Hopefully, I can have time in the morning. I make them a quick smoothie. I leave it on the counter. I know what they like. I add a little bit of protein in because that's what we're all about these days is putting a little bit of protein in as I make my own shake and I can head out the door as well. And then getting home at night. Sometimes I have a little bit of time in the morning. I'll pre-make some meals in the morning. That helps my husband if he's getting ready to take the girls to hockey or whatever else. At least we have a little bit of a game plan. So those are some of the tricks that I'm kind of using right now to set the day up for success. And how I'm getting my girls involved. Look, sometimes we don't have time to meal plan. So I was picking my daughter up. We were driving between tutoring, going to her cheer practice. And we're like, okay, we got to pick up something quickly. And she wanted McDonald's. And I was like, you know what? Why don't we choose something a little bit healthier as like, look, you are an athlete. So we went to Subway instead. And then she actually didn't fight me back on that. So that was a win for us. And so we were able to have a little bit of a healthier choice and getting her involved in that decision as well and why it's important for her.
That's awesome. And you know what? That's some really powerful stuff. You are literally changing the way that they look at food, the relationship with food before they even get into high school, university, things like that. And that's, just that's really, really powerful stuff. And I'm super happy for you on that note.
I would say it even started when we were younger. I wanted the kids to have a positive relationship with food. I didn't want them to ever think of food as good and bad. We have like sometimes food and we have more often food. So cupcakes are not bad food, they're just sometimes food. So I didn't want them to have a bad relationship with food where they thought things were bad for them or bad. So we really try to talk in a positive language about making choices, and sometimes are more frequent choices and sometimes are sometimes choices.
It's great to hear. I see you as what I said, quote unquote, super mom. You are obviously a leader in the studio. You are cheering on members all the time. You're organizing challenges. You're doing a whole bunch of stuff for the studio. Um, how has it felt now that you also have to lead by example when you're at? Is there a huge gap? Is it kind of the same? Let me hear about that.
The challenge at the studio is a little bit different, right? When I'm talking to, other members and what I'm doing and what I'm doing for my own fuel, I think I take on a little bit of a different responsibility when I'm talking to members versus when I'm talking to my children. It depends on how I'm training. So I've done several, Mason said marathons. I've only done half marathons. I've done 5. So it depends on sort of what training phase that I'm in. And I usually reach out to Mason and a lot of support and say, how am I properly fueling for the activity that I'm doing? So I do put a lot of mindset into how I'm fueling my body so I can be better performing. So I can talk to members about that, and sometimes I do have struggles and I like to have a glass of wine, and I still take that same relationship with, I have sometimes foods here at the studio and other food, I splurge and have pizza on Friday nights and a glass of wine, and that's also totally fine.
With that kind of like mindset change on certain seasons, and obviously life has different seasons. When it comes to nutrition, do you find it being just another checkbox, or has your identity itself changed?
Yeah, I would say my identity changed. I mean, for a long time, fitness is part of my identity. It's not just something I have to do, it's part of my daily who I am every single day. So I think that was a bigger mindset shift, is when fitness is part of my everyday. It is part of my routine. And now making the food a priority is definitely a lot harder than me getting my butt onto a treadmill. I will say that. Like, making these choices, it's not easy. Preparing in advance is not easy. I definitely struggle with it. I come into the studio, I was like, hey, Mason, guess what I did today? I pre planned my meals and I made a healthy breakfast. And Sabrina and I talk about it as well. Like, we try to be there to support each other, because getting on the treadmill and running a mile is easier for me than planning my week out in advance. So those are definitely some of the struggles that I have as a busy mom. And I'd say putting in the work with my nutrition is a lot harder than some of the other activities I do.
I love that so much for you, because knowing how hard it is and you still making the effort, it means the world, right? And even if it's not for yourself, as your kids see that, they're gonna grow into the patterns that they're seeing and watching you do, either for yourself or for themselves. And if another busy mom was listening to this right now, juggling with work, feeling like there's no time left for herself, what would you want her to hear?
When it comes to food and nutrition, if you're planning for your family, I've had this meal forever with my family. It's called things on a plate. So don't stress about it. If you got things in your fridge, it can be, some leftover scrambled eggs, a piece of toast. It can be breakfast. You can put it all together, and that's going to be a meal. So try not to stress too much about having a well balanced, put together meal. Things on a plate, we probably serve once a week in my family, and I'm still very confident that it's a healthy meal for my kids. So I would say things on a plate. Number one is a meal. You've already won that day. Other advice, look, I get my groceries delivered. I think that's key. Whatever brand you want to use, I think it's time saving. There's some options there that are really great. I would say, yeah, doing that, getting my groceries delivered. And you don't have to do it all. You're already doing amazing. If you're thinking in advance of what your kids, how they're eating, focusing on their nutrition, you're already winning. So don't overthink it. You're already doing a great job as a mom, thinking, how am I going to provide for my kids to have, healthy meals when they go to school, and planning in advance. You're already doing a great job. Just keep it up.
This is exactly why I wanted Erica on here, because what she's doing is more than just fitness. It's literally a legacy. And if you are a parent who wants your kids who are watching you build yourself, this is a reminder that it just starts with one choice. So thank you so much for sharing that, Erica. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mason.
Thank you.